honestly, one of my favorite movie villains of all time is Emperor Palpatine. I mean, he's like just the personification of an evil villain. And we've gotten quite a few action figures of him over the years, and, some have been better than others. Although they tend to, for a main villain of Star Wars, kind of come rarely. I mean, it took, God, like 30 years, 40 years to finally get a fully articulated vintage card version. So, yeah, obviously, main character got more popular probably with the prequels because, he kind of is the same character and you get his whole origin and blah, blah, blah. And as I said, some of the figures have been better than others, and one that was not was this one. So, this Palpatine is honestly one of my least favorite modern Star Wars figures of all time, right up there with that Luke we did a few weeks ago. So, Palpatine's a bit of a tricky figure with the hood and, soft goods and the way his head, but man, this one, it just does not do it. So, I mean, look at that. Look at the way the hood is just way too big for his face. You compare that to the vintage figure, and yeah, sorry, his nose is scratched off from years of play. Or even the Power of the Force 2, the first one, which I thought was an amazing Palpatine figure. The best one, I think, is this one here on the right. This was from a Target 3-pack during the Disney movie eras. And then, of course, we've got the vintage collection version with soft goods. But yeah, you could see that one there, this one, ugh, God, the proportions are just so off. I mean, he, kind of almost looks like a cartoon character. The hood like that, what were they thinking? This is the best one, I think. This, even though it's got less articulation. The weird thing now is that this Palpatine, which is not the greatest Palpatine, got reused over and over and over again and re-released in multi-packs, DVD packs, and even single-carded releases. For such a bad sculpt, how this one became kind of the definitive Palpatine for years. When they re-released it as a single card, there were slight improvements, and of course we'll get to this figure in several episodes. They did change it slightly by having a peg for the cane to plug into on his hand. So this release doesn't have the peg. It was only the subsequent release. Subsequent. All right. So leaving this Palpatine behind, who is definitely not the Palpatine. He goes way in the drawer. I never bring this one out. Ugh. Along with Palpatine, hey, you get his apprentice there. So this Vader actually is not the first time this Vader has been offered. I kind of screwed up in my whole collect them all thing. It's a unique Vader in the sense that it has a cloth cape. It was originally in the Masters of the Dark Side 2-pack with Darth Maul, and I had passed on this because at the time I was like, oh, I'm not collecting prequel figures. I already have a Darth Maul. I don't need another one. And yeah, I kind of thought like, well, if the figure's packed with a prequel figure, I'm not going to get it. Well, for those of you keeping track, it came out at the same time as the deluxe wave, the Leia and the Bacta Luke and the Anna Mom. And yeah, I talked about how I make my own rules, that I only collect classic trilogy figures. And if it does come with a prequel figure, now I will buy it. So I regretted missing this Darth Maul Vader 2-pack, but luckily the Vader was re-released on a single card. So even though I missed out on getting another Darth Maul, which I think it was actually also just a repaint or repack. I don't know if it was an original figure, but the Vader got the same one and as a single card, so I got to get him without having to get a Darth Maul. So yay, I guess. I mean, it gets the job done. It's not a spectacular figure. I think it's unique because it has a combination of a soft goods cape and a plastic skirt piece, versus most Vaders that have the soft goods have soft goods for both, like this 2023 vintage figure here on the right. So yeah, he's got his basic articulation. On the elbows, swivel, not a ball joint, and head swivel, not a ball joint. Gets the job done. It's a Vader, but it's not the greatest like this one here. And that's the interesting thing about the Gold Card Saga. We got some of the best figures ever during this sort of time in the line, and we're about to cover some of the great figures in this. I can't wait to get to some of these Rebel leaders that are coming up. I mean, this was a great time, but it also required having the main characters out there. And while Vader was originally released just as a regular part of the line, he was re-released as an all-star figure the next year. Same figure, same card. The only difference was the card back changed from figures in that wave, where you see this is the original release when Vader was a wave figure, if you will. And then when he was re-released the next year as a best of, or I think they called them all-stars. So chance to pick them up again. And honestly, this is the way to absolutely do it. You want to keep the main characters out there. So perfect way to get a Vader out there without tooling.